Go ahead if you're ready, Irene.
I'm ready. Our mission. Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background. Attendance today at this meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are helpful to parents all around the world, and they are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not able to attend this meeting live can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone. And thank you, Mark, for doing this.
Thank you, Irene. And we're going to go to Dawn now, Dawn Richards, who is our affiliate director. She's the person who's in charge of all of our affiliate groups all over the world. She's going to be introducing Mark. So go ahead.
All right. You know, there's so much to say about Dr. Mark Pitstick's 47 years of experience and research in multiple areas. This includes a graduate degree in clinical psychology and a doctorate in chiropractic healthcare. He's worked in hospitals, mental health centers, and private practice, including work in suicide prevention and education. He's the author of numerous books, as well as the director of the Soul Phone Foundation, founder of Greater Reality Living Groups, and research assistant for the Soul Phone Project. But perhaps of most interest to us, Mark has conducted considerable exploration in the realms of life, death, and the afterlife. He's delved into our spiritual natures, asking those timeless questions about what happens after we die and why are we here? On his website, soulproof.com, which I will write in the chat for those who would like to access it, Mark provides a plethora of free articles, radio shows, and newsletters to help you learn more about this. And he also offers very affordable books, audio products, and even counseling sessions to answer your biggest questions and provide solutions to your toughest challenges. Mark met with us previously where he interviewed several couples about the differences between the ways that men and women grieve. And tonight we'll be doing more of the same about it. I'm super excited about this. We had so much positive feedback about this last time. And Mark, I can't wait for you to get started tonight. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Dawn. And thank you, Irene, Elizabeth, and you others. Welcome, everyone. I'm very sorry for having at least one child who passed, but I'm very glad that you're part of Helping Parents Heal, and you're looking for the silver linings. You're looking for the sense and meaning in this, and there's plenty. So keep your eyes open, keep looking. It's a special honor to present to this group. I truly mean it. Of all the impacts I make, this is one of the most, perhaps the most meaningful to me personally, because it's my belief that life on earth is totally safe, meaningful, and magnificent adventure, which means when something apparently horrible, like a child passing on, happens, you have to look even harder for the blessings. But it's my belief, based on some good empirical evidence, that bereaved parents agreed it on some level, usually, I can't say always, to go through something like this for their own personal growth, but just as much or perhaps more so for the service opportunities to the world. Some of the most magnificent people I've met in my life have been in this very group. just, I mean, they're heroes to me, what they have done. And I truly believe that as the years go by, you're going to see a greater and greater impact stemming from helping parents heal, people like all of you, because if you can do it, anybody can do it. You know, if you can go through the toughest, so can other people. And, you know, Jesus said, don't shine your light under a bushel, but put it on a hillside for others to see. Well, this is your chance to shine, become a shining light, parent. So let's get rolling. But first, a special Mother's Day greeting to all moms, whether your child's living on Earth or elsewhere. We know from now clinical and scientific research that energy, consciousness, soul, whatever you want to call it, continues to live after bodily death, and it manifests in different ways in different times and places. And your unique relationship you had as mother, child, and also dad and child, that continues on. That continues on indefinitely. That's stored. You never lose that. You can revisit it. You have that wonderful special connection that you can revisit in other ways. So that's my blessing to you for that. If you haven't already, see article number 2 at soulproof.com. This is called When a Child Changes Worlds, and all sorts of holistic understandings and resources. So here's the agenda for tonight, 25 minutes, quickly as I can. I'm going to speed through a lot of important information about the challenges that can occur after a child passes for couples, for the parents. However, as you probably know, every time there's a challenge, there's an equal opportunity for blessings, for growth, for change, for evolution. And so that's going to be the focus. So some of this may sound kind of negative for a while. Oh my God, you know, there's another challenge. But it's important to understand all this. First of all, to know that you're not unusual. You know, this is just about what everybody goes through, and then how you can solve it. What are the solutions? So again, lots of information. If this is your first time through, I'll guarantee you're not going to catch it all. It might seem overwhelming, but what I recommend is that you and your partner watch this again, recording, and then you can stop it. Wait a minute, I disagree with that. I don't think that applies to us. And that's fine. All of this is not going to apply to everybody. Then a few couples will share their challenges, for most of them what they had, because they are shining light parents, and you can ask them questions. So that's a powerful part of this. And then we'll have a close. Disclaimer, this information is not designed to replace traditional medical care or psychological care. As Don mentioned, lots of free resources at soulproof.com, articles, and I'll refer to some of them. I'll say article number this. Well, now you know where they are, soulproof.com. Free radio shows. I interviewed 11 of the top experts, Raymond Moody, Gary Schwartz, Anita Moorjani. I mean, you just go down through the list. And one of the questions I asked them was, why do children die? And so you can hear all those answers again at soulproof.com/radio shows. And then, yes, very inexpensive books and audio products. I'll mention some of them. I'm not mentioning this to advertise. I probably make a half a penny an hour that I've spent over all the years, and that's totally fine. Be very clear about this. If you need but cannot afford any of these products I mentioned, email me at mark@soulproof.com and we'll send you a free digital copy. How you like that? So first of all, typical challenges after a child crosses over. And by the way, you'll hear me use very specific language. Some of it may sound cumbersome or foreign to you. Not when a child dies, because your child did not die. The body of your child did. Your child crossed over, passed on, changed worlds, graduated from Earth School. It's very important to upgrade your language to describe what actually happened so that you can make that move from horribly grieving parent to shining light. Like, gosh, this is never anything I would have wished for, but I'm going to, I'm going to get my money's worth. I'm going to make everybody proud for this one. So there are gender As you all know, there are gender differences in just about every category of life. So it's no surprise that occurs when there's grieving involved. It's been said that men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and those are respectively the god of war, Mars, and the goddess of growth and love, Venus. So that's a huge clue as to why men and women often go at this a different way, or more accurately, I should say, people with more predominant masculine or feminine energies may look at this quite differently. So the first big takeaway, it's totally normal for parents to handle it differently and struggle for a while. What? Yeah, how can you say that? How can you look at it this way? So just know that, and that relieves some of the pressure right there. So my goal this evening is to help you begin the process of rediscovering the love, the connection that brought you together initially, to make your child proud. There is no doubt in my mind that your child is rooting you on, cheering you on. Come on, mom and dad, you can do this. So that's another reason to take the highway with this. So that's the second key. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, what we're getting ready to talk about. Now, before I review the more typically masculine versus feminine traits, just know that gender-related tendencies have shifted since my counseling training and full-time work as a psychologist decades ago. So don't be offended if the words I use don't exactly characterize your situation. I deeply honor and appreciate diversity in individuals and couples. Having said that, in general, heterosexual and homosexual couples usually have a more masculine partner. I mean, you can just tell by looking at them and talking with them. That's the yin yang attraction thing. Now, with hetero couples, that's usually the man, but sometimes it's a woman. And I really don't have sufficient experience with other types of couples, bisexual, transgender, for example, to know what is typical there. I just haven't worked with that many over the years. Next point, we learn so much from our parents, grandparents, and other role models. So it's likely that you may have seen, if you're a man, masculine tendencies, protective, macho, I can deal with this, feels responsible, oh, that's a big one, strong, silent, doesn't want to talk about it, keeps it in. Women, on the other hand, tend to be, and again, this is not across the board, more feminine characteristics, which involve caring, nurturing, giving, being more sensitive, wanting to talk about it, being more emotional and more expressive. And I see some heads nodding out there. So that alone explains common dynamics of why moms and dads, or I'm going to say moms and dads, but you understand, it could be two moms, it could be two dads, all right? Why they would react differently. Dads feel angry at themselves, others, the world, and feel like a failure because they didn't protect their child. You know, they weren't a strong enough father bear to protect their cub. And moms feel guilty and sad that they didn't catch the subtle signs that they can see in hindsight. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, but some of the most common dynamics. Now, this is important to know or remember that during times of severe stress, and certainly that's, when a child passes, those dynamics can intensify or shift. So for example, a highly dominant man may become even more so, and you're like, where did this person go? That's not who I married. Or a more sensitive man may feel that he has to be tougher. And I see where the sensitivity got me. I'm going to be, and you may be sitting there watching your husband go through this and not understand why. Conversely, a passive woman may become even more so, and an assertive woman, a strong assertive woman, may feel like a powerless victim. So this shifting from these usual roles can further accentuate the feeling of things being out of control. Not only did your child change worlds, but so many other things change, including how you both are reacting versus how you have over the years. Now, In addition, women are more prone to hormonal related imbalances. First of all, you understand the severe shock and stress of a child's passing impacts the human body, and two organ systems especially. The hormonal system is the first one. So we're talking about the pituitary gland, the thalamus, the thyroid, the adrenal glands, the ovaries, primarily, pancreas secondarily. These are the organs that produce hormones. Well, women are more prone to those organs getting out of balance because they have the menstrual cycle, the demands of pregnancy, if they're menopausal or premenopausal, those systems get a lot of stress as it is. So the passing of a child can just be whammy, the straw that broke the camel's back. However, men, especially middle-aged men, can have a less severe male climacteric, which also changes the way the endocrine system works. So again, in either case, severe stress can trigger significant physical and, quote, mental symptoms due to this endocrine system dysfunction. So for women, the most common symptoms are anxiety, depression, decreased sex drive, thyroid symptoms, and that can be hypo or hyper. So if the thyroid goes hypo, not functioning as well as it should, she's going to tend to gain weight, she'll be tired, she'll sleep a lot, may have hair loss, things like that. If it's hyper, trouble sleeping, weight loss, hyper, heart palpitations, panic attacks, things like that. And again, the man sitting there saying, what the hell, our life's already falling apart and now you're going to, but the woman can't control it. It's what's happened to her body. And then the adrenal glands, which is usually hypoadrenal, adrenal fatigue, adrenal exhaustion, those are the stress glands. And if those get wiped out, again, fatigue, getting sick easily, feeling dizzy when you get up quickly due to the blood pressure not equilibrating quickly enough to get blood flow to the brain. So those are most common ones for women. For men, really hits them where it hurts. Decreased libido again, sex drive, impotence, and irritability. And, for most guys, they're like, I'd rather be dead than that. Next, the shock of a child passing can also trigger symptoms related to central nervous system functioning, the brain, your spinal cord, and the most common ones there are, so again, this is the same dynamic. The stress, the brain and nervous system may not have been quite right anyway, due to other stresses, nutritional deficiencies, etc. But then when a child passes, whammo, and that system gets out of balance. So most common symptoms there for both genders: anxiety, depression, brain fog, difficulty remembering or concentrating, facial tics, hand tremors, and insomnia. So you may recognize some of these in yourself or your spouse. Again, though, you're not going crazy, you're not weak, you're not falling apart. These are very, very predictable, and they're very easily treated naturally. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So most people don't understand this stress bodily function connection. So when these symptoms arise, they wonder if they're developing a disease, and you should consult your medical doctor and make sure you're not. They fear their spouse is going crazy or going downhill. They feel even more helpless and overwhelmed. They may self-medicate with alcohol and or drugs, quite common. And men may turn to porn and or extramarital affairs to try to bolster their sex drive and satisfaction because, they're such dogs. I mean, being a guy, I have no problem saying women are half human and half angels. Men are half human and half dogs. If you remember that, that just answers a whole lot of questions. So traditional doctors, well-meaning doctors, may prescribe drugs in an attempt to decrease symptoms, and sometimes that's needed in crisis situations. However, it doesn't address the underlying causes, the imbalances I mentioned, and it may even create negative side effects that make things worse. For example, increased suicidal and homicidal ideation, thinking about it, and behavior, acting on it, is a potential side effect of some antidepressant drugs. So that's why natural care is important whenever needed. And ideally, you have a team of an integrative medical doc and natural health care professionals so they can communicate and see what is the best, safest, most efficient approach given your unique situation, because everyone is truly different. So as I mentioned, there are powerful self-care and natural health care treatments, and you can learn more about these from articles number 12, 26, 38, and in my book, Radiant Wellness. So that's 12, 26, 38. And also you can email me at mark@soulproof.com for professional guidance and a help with a personally designed program to get well again, to get balanced again. Another factor, you've heard the old song, perhaps, you always hurt the one you love. Well, I would say, yeah, I try to stay away from universals like always, but you sometimes hurt the one you love. And that can be a factor. Partners may feel safe in acting out, acting angry, bitter, extremely sad around the spouse, the other partner. And in that sense, it's a compliment that your partner feels comfortable doing that. However, an excess of those lower energy emotions day in and day out can be too much for your partner, just another source of stress. It can kill the romance and choke the joy out of a relationship. And over time, couples may morph into becoming co-workers and co-grievers versus, any kind of romantic partners. So there are better ways, and we're going to talk about communication skills because that's a huge part of what we're talking about tonight. Next, adjusting to the new normal may involve keeping too busy to escape the pain. That's a very common coping mechanism. People are just like, I'm going to stay so busy, I can't think about it, I don't have to deal with it. But one of many potential negative side effects of that approach is that good communication may suffer. You may just keep passing each other in the hallway. Next, partners may differ in their religious/spiritual beliefs. This surfaced in one of the couples we dealt with a couple months ago. One was devout, believing in her religion. The other didn't believe there was any afterlife. And somehow they kind of worked that out. It was really beautiful to watch how that worked out, the power of love. So that can be a problem when one of the parents believes in afterlife, the other doesn't. There can be even more fundamental issues that arise when one parent, for example, believes that the child's action while on earth, drinking, drug use, suicide, for example, leads to a fiery eternal hell, where the other believes, like me and like plenty of evidence points to, that creator universe is much more loving, understanding, forgiving, no matter what occurs, than we can possibly fathom. So as you can see, there are many possible challenges after a child passes. However, as we mentioned, those challenges also present exquisite, powerful new opportunities for greater love, service, growth, evolution, and enjoyment. And that, again, may be why you're in this time and place in this particular scenario. I see lots of evidence that universe is not cruel, random, chaotic, uncaring. But finding and sharing the silver linings usually works best when parents are on a similar wavelength. They're happy together, they're working together. So now we're shifting into improved communication. And that's very helpful to address these challenges. So here's a few recommendations. Schedule quality time to talk when you won't be interrupted. These are really basic things. If you follow them, it helps a lot. Before you start talking, pray or set an intention that you'll become more happy and loving together. Sit knee to knee and really look at each other while talking. And the next one, super important, really listen to each other. Do not interrupt. While one person talks, the other one really listens. Then pause, reflect for a moment before responding. And I'll just tell you, most couples do not talk like that. Focus on I feel statements to go deeper below the angry or other lower energy feelings. For example, one parent may say, I can't believe it. I should have seen this coming. Okay, what's that? Anger, blame, guilt. Well, the partner can communicate and say, how does that make you feel? And then boom, all of a sudden you go from being in your head and anger to, I feel like I failed, that I'm the dad, I should have been able to help. Or, if it's the mom speaking, whatever her thing is. So this is a common counseling technique. How does that make you feel? Another basic counseling tool involves saying, I hear you talking about this, but what's really bothering you? In other words, sometimes we start off talking about the superficial, something that's easier to talk about, but if given a chance, boom, we can really go into deeper stuff and say, this is what really bothers me. Sometimes people are embarrassed or ashamed to talk about, but just those kinds of questions. What are you really feeling? What's really bothering you? Can give them permission and opening to do that. Remember your intentions and stay on topic. Don't get sidetracked by revisiting. If only I would have, should have, could have. So much time, energy has been wasted doing that. I mean, it gets you nowhere and just further stresses and hurts ourselves. So one way to do that, to stay in the present moment, is to quiet your mind so it doesn't excessively revisit the past. And you can read article number 77, and it's called Centering Practices. Also article number 51, Meditation. Those are some different ways to stay in that present moment. Have date nights, get out of the house, revisit special places you used to enjoy. If at all possible, maintain sexual intimacy, even if you don't feel like it. What's the old saying, to become, act as if. And so, if you're spending any intimate time together, that's better than nothing at all. And hopefully that'll continue to grow. Now, sometimes there is so much pain and sadness involved that you feel like there's so many layers blocking you from communicating. And so I recommend article number 70, holistic breathing technique. And that's one of the most powerful ways I know to release old wounds, to release fears, to turn back on energy circuits that have been turned off so you can open your heart and mind again. So that's article number 70. And a great warm up before talking is both of you do the breath work. This is 45 minutes of noisy, open mouth, diaphragmatic breathing with me coaching in the background. I have a right to feel all I feel. I'm safe in my body. All kinds of different music, changing from a lullaby to you're being chased in the jungle by tigers. And my assessment is the brain says, I have no idea what's going on in this moment. I'm just going to check out and watch this. And that gives you, again, an opening for the rest of yourself that can perceive the other 99% of reality to look at things, make adjustments, communicate, heal, get back together. Another way to improve communication is for family members to use the LAF technique, LAF, standing for love, acceptance, forgiveness. And this is described in article number 40. So the LAF technique, loving, accepting, forgiving yourself and others, especially if someone else was involved in your child's passing. Now, some parents feel guilty. And by the way, we're wrapping up and then if the first couple will be ready, Jeff and Lynn. Some parents feel guilty about having fun or feeling good after their child graduates from Earth School. I've even heard them say, how can we feel good? I felt good for a while, but then I realized, my God, how can I do that? I felt guilty. How can I feel happy? Our child is gone. And, I try not to smile. I mean, I know this is really, really serious when you're in the midst of it, but the irony is so thick and it's threefold. First of all, your child is having approximately 1 million times more love, peace, joy, etc., than most people on earth. Secondly, your child is probably right beside you, tapping you on the shoulder, smacking you upside the head. Come on, mom and dad, don't you remember? We planned this. We knew this was a possibility. We're soulmates. We're eternal soulmates. We've been together before this time on earth. We'll be together again. And in fact, we're together right now in another slice of life. And we've talked about this before. Usually about 20% of your energy, consciousness, soul is required to manifest in an earthly incarnation. So you may very well be with your child in another time and place right now. So again, that's why it makes you feeling guilty about feeling good. So not the best choice, let's put it that way. So to learn more about this multi-location, about this parallel or simultaneous reality possibility, see article number 75. Other suggestions for communication, get psychological and or pastoral counseling. One of the other things I did for clinical psych was attended theology school and took all the pastoral counseling training they had, because I wanted to know, what do they train ministers to say, especially in tough times like this. So get the counseling. Some people think, oh, if I go for counseling, that means I'm crazy. Actually, it means you're crazy if you don't get counseling and you need it. Almost so many people have, and I certainly have myself. Helped so much. Attend religious, spiritual services that are meaningful for you for increased support, love, kindred spirits, and service opportunities. And we'll get to that in a moment, service opportunities. Next, don't let your child's passing define who you are. I first became aware of this when I went to AA meetings when I was an alcoholic, but when I was in theology school and psychology, I would attend meetings, and I noticed that some people, even 40 years later, I'm John, I'm an alcoholic. Okay, that's beautiful. That's better than being an alcoholic, but I'm kind of like, hey, John, might you loosen up your identification a little bit? You're so much more than an alcoholic. So some people kind of get stuck in that role. So here's some ways to maybe lighten the identity. I'm a bereaved parent. And again, I'm not making fun. I am trying to gently, lovingly shake some things loose so you can heal and communicate. First of all, you had a life before your child was born. Secondly, you can focus on gratitude for the years you had together, all the wonderful memories you have, and knowing without a doubt, and again, there's tons of evidential, clinical, and scientific now evidence that you will see each other again. So you can focus on all that instead of the loss. So to learn more about that, see article number 41, The Art Technique. Accept, realize, transform, article number 41. And finally, consider that your child's early transition, and that's early from an earthly viewpoint. It may have been perfectly great timing from a greater reality perspective. That might have been pre-planned, and you can learn more about that via my article at soulproof.com called Pre-Birth Planning. Did I really choose all this? I don't have the number in front of me. And by the way, I'll be doing a presentation on May 22nd that IANS is sponsoring. And on the pre-birth planning, we'll be doing a live session. And it's only $7 and you get a recording of it. And I forget if we did this for the group, maybe in a break or at the end, Elizabeth, whoever can say, yeah, we already did this for HPH and here's how you can look at it. All right, time for me to quit talking. And how about our first couple, Jeff and Lynn? And for the other couples as well, I would like you to briefly share the following: your child's name, when he or she moved to a different part of forever, what challenges you are encountering or did encounter, and how you solve that, some of the things that help. So let's start with that. All right, take it away, the Hollihans.
Need to unmute first, though.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay.
Okay.
Are we there? Are we there now?
Okay. Our son Devin transitioned when he was 22 in 2009, November. And our situation was a little bit different than some of yours because we got a phone call that he was missing. He had gone to a concert in Frankfurt, Germany, and with an acquaintance, and the acquaintance called and said, "Hey, we got separated. I don't know what happened to Devin." So that was the first phone call we got. And right away, we kind of reacted differently. My attitude was, well, we'll find him. I was always positive and upbeat about it in the beginning. And that night, when this ball of light crossed my room and the word river came into my head, even though I knew that was a sign from Devin, that Devin is actually in the river, I wasn't ready to go there in my brain. So
yeah, like Lynn said, we had really different experiences because for some reason, Devin's disappearance triggered a little bit of, well, not a little bit, but a lot of media attention. So it took us a month to locate his body. And in that month, I was kind of running point for the family dealing with the media. So we had, he went missing just before Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving Day, we had a film crew from Good Morning America in our kitchen to tell the story. The day after Thanksgiving, I went to a studio by the Phoenix airport and I did live shots on all of the 3 major networks and then went over to Germany. So for that first month, I had something to do every day. It was kind of this grand, terrible adventure. But I had a purpose in my life every day that I woke up. Coincidentally, I had a degree in broadcasting, although I was never, the guy in front of the camera. I was always the guy behind the camera. But Lynn always told me that, oh, you've got the degree, so you're the family spokesman. You carry the water and go do this. So I did. And like I said, it gave me something to do. Why don't you just briefly talk about how you felt during that first month?
Yeah. So, having a month to get used to the fact that your child is no longer living in this earth plane, I think is a lot better than getting the knock on the door and saying, "Hey, your child is gone." But so for me, it was a real roller coaster. I went from pacing the floor and shaking uncontrollably to being uplifted and thinking, "Oh, we're going to find him and let's go on this adventure in Germany." So I was all over the board. And what Mark said, I could certainly see myself in a lot of those traits that you were talking about. And I have huge memory gaps from that time. Things that happened, I have no recollection of. I did not want to talk to my family, tell them how I was feeling. There were a couple friends that I would confide in, but mostly I wanted to talk to strangers who I didn't know. And it was safe for me at that point.
So that's what it was like the first month. And she had ample opportunities to talk to strangers, people on the streets, mild acquaintances rather than close friends. So just going forward, so it was just before Christmas. It was exactly a month between the time he went missing, that we got that news, and then the time his body was found, and we knew what the ultimate outcome was. And we were back home in Arizona when that happened. So at that point, the roles completely reversed. I didn't have anything to do. My best buddy was gone, and I just shut down. I didn't want to get out of bed. I sort of remember going into my office to work. I don't know that really a whole lot got done, but for the first several months, for a good part of that, we kind of existed in the same house, but all in different rooms.
Yeah, we were sleeping in the same bed, but that's about all we were doing together. We were never in the same room because it would remind us that Something
Some-
was missing.
yeah,
You
we
know,
couldn't
we
really
didn't-
stand to look in each other's eyes and see the pain that was there. It was just a constant reminder. So we found ways to avoid being together and talking. So it was tough, and it was, Mark Mark talked about our kids being beside us and smacking us upside the head, and we know that to be true now. We didn't know that at the time, and I have frequently referred to my resurrection, if you will, from repeated spiritual 2x4s upside the head. It was Devin constantly reaching out in different ways, through mediums, through signs, through things happening in the house, that we realized that he was still right here. He was with us all the time and knew what was going on, and was just cheering us on to move forward and find the joy. And it didn't happen immediately, but we got there.
And for me, those first few months, because we were receiving so many signs, either through mediums or physical things happening in our house, it was kind of exciting. I mean, as weird as that sounds, not that it wasn't sad, but it was also exciting to wake up and see, how's Devin going to communicate today? What's going to happen in our house? And I don't want to downplay it, because there were lots of tears and there was a lot of sadness, but it was also, this new world was coming at us, and we did embrace it.
Well, thanks to some of the people, here on the screen that I'm looking at. we were,
but really, we didn't meet Elizabeth till a year in to our journey. So she wasn't there right away.
Better late than never.
And, we didn't communicate a lot in the house, but we did go on walks and we went on hikes, and we found that was our time to talk, because we were out of the house, it was safe, we were in nature, and we were able to communicate.
Yeah, we talked about that on Helping Fathers Heal a couple of nights ago, how to do that. I think getting away from the house, getting away from the place where the memories are, I think opens up the possibility of better communication. So we tried to go to church. The first time we went to church, I think Kelsey and Lynn, Kelsey's our daughter, broke down the minute we walked in the door. The second time, and we lasted maybe 3 minutes. The second time, their tears maybe waited 60 seconds, and we were gone 3 minutes after that. So that was kind of it. We just couldn't find what we needed in a traditional worship sense. So we found our ease of communication was better when we were out in nature and could just embrace all the beauty around us. So anyway, I don't want to steal. I know that we have some other speakers, but that's just a little insight into at least the early, more difficult part of our journey.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. Thank you very much. So we actually have some time. Having gone through all this, and Devin passed how long ago?
In 2009, November.
Yeah.
Okay.
11 and a half years.
So what are a couple things you can share with other parents that you've learned that you suggest they may want to try, or that help work for you?
As a couple or as individuals?
What are a couple of insights you can share with others?
Well, we kind of recreated our life as a couple and as a family. And I don't know, what do you want to say to that?
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we all have is that we all have friends that really don't join us in the journey. We probably all experienced a situation where the people that we're close to don't know what to do, don't know what to say, so they withdraw. And I think that's a natural reaction. And we had that happen, and it was difficult. And we took it personally at first, and then gradually we came to the realization that everybody does the best they can, and they want us back the way we were before, and we're never going to be those people again. So over the course of probably 2 years, I would say, maybe even quicker than that, our whole friend base changed, and we just sort of let that happen. And I think that was very, very healthy for us, because at that point, We were only spending time with people who lifted us up, who were encouraging, who put smiles on our face, who put laughter and love in our hearts. And that means that you have to let some close people go. But if they're not going to join you on the journey, it's not in your best interest to keep them around.
Yeah, I remember one night we had some neighbors over for dinner and they had very good intentions, but it was just such a depressing night on their part, you know, that they left probably at 9 p.m. And I looked at Jeff, I said, I wonder what Mark and Susie Ireland are doing right now. So we called them at 9 o'clock at night and we went over to their house and, you know, they understood where we were coming from. So just being around people who had walked your walk or were walking your walk was very helpful.
Excellent.
And
Anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. You know, I noticed I was, before we got on, I noticed, and there's some blanks. So there could be some husbands using their wives' accounts tonight, but there, you know, at a quick glance, there do not seem to be a lot of guys here tonight. So gals, you know, get your husbands. What Mark said tonight is really valuable. I think it's, as a guy, I think it's really valuable. We're kind of logical. We like to know not, you know, why things are working, but how they're working. And talking about the chemical stuff that goes on in our bodies is really important. So listen to this one and then go back and Elizabeth, maybe you know the date of the first meeting that Mark did, which I thought was just brilliant, talking about a lot of the same stuff. But it's really good for the dads to hear.
Yeah. So for you guys that are newer on the journey, I do want to say that we're happier now than we've ever been. You know, we've worked through this together. There's hope. We have a great life. We embrace Devin. We feel like he's with us every day. He makes us laugh. Occasionally he makes us cry, but
Yeah,
there is a good life waiting for you.
There is a good life possible if you're willing to embrace what's coming your way.
Wow. So impressive. Jeff, could you just quickly share with them your tattoo, please, and what that means to you?
Well, I have two, but I think the one that Mark is referring to is one that says, buy the ticket, take the ride. And it's a quote from a novel that Devin read when he was in high school, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. And in the book, it refers to a couple of guys that pick up a sketchy hitchhiker on the way to some dastardly event in Las Vegas. And they realize that they've chosen somebody of questionable character, but it's like, well, he's in the car, he's along for the ride, let's see what happens. And that's kind of how we've embraced life. It's like all of these things come to us and it's our decision as to how we deal with those. The pain that comes, I think we learn more from the bad stuff that happens to us than the good stuff. So when you face the challenges in your life, you have a choice to take that and turn it into something positive. So I think as a family, we live by those words. And we also like to ride on roller coasters too. So there's a little double meaning there.
Beautiful. Yeah, for years in my workshops, I played Garth Brooks' song, The Dance. I could have missed the pain, but I would have missed the dance. So when he agreed to open the first conference, I was blown away. And it's a similar philosophy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Carol and Tony, are you up? Are you ready?
Hi, I'm Carol, and Tony's got my phone, and he's in the car. He had to rush out, but he will speak after me. It'll just say Carol, but it will be him.
That works.
So our journeys were different. I mean, Tony and I have always been fortunate in the sense that we've had a wonderful marriage. Although after Tyler did pass away, for me, I went through all of the stages that they talk about. First it was shock and denial, and then I was incredibly angry. I was incredibly angry at myself. I was angry at my husband. My son passed on a motorcycle. So of course I blamed myself. I blamed Tony. I was just, I went into a depression. And Tony, you know, at the time, he was so worried about me. And so I was angry at him because I felt like he didn't even seem sad. But if Tony's available, I'll let him talk about how he felt in the very beginning, and then we can go back to how I felt. But that's how I dealt with it. I was just angry. I was sad. And I was mad at him because I felt like he wasn't as sad as I was, which sounds crazy because, you know, obviously he is. So Tony, can you unmute?
I think I am.
Yes.
Okay. So you had to take that a step further. Carol's sadness was to the point where she really didn't want to be here. And so I poured all my energy in to taking care of her and somewhat our oldest son. But, you know, at the time, he seemed like he was the rock and kind of held it all together, but Carol was not. Carol was broken glass shattered on the floor. And that went on for a while. So yeah, I poured my energy into taking care of her. And I was sad, believe me.
Yeah. Okay, so if you would just kind of, if it's not too painful, just kind of walk us through it then, because you know, obviously people know that the challenges change as time passes. So how did that morph?
I will. Well, we were very fortunate in the sense that Elizabeth lives in Cave Creek. And even though I didn't know her, she immediately reached out. She came to the service. And so I was blessed. So I wanted to get better. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to want to be here. I immediately started working at it. And I immediately started reading everything I could get my hands on and watching every video I could find. And I started working on getting better. And so then I did. And it was like this whole world opened for me because I didn't know what I believed in. I didn't know that there was, you know, I didn't know that there was an afterlife. And so that was the gift that came with that. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not afraid to die. There's so much more. And so I started moving forward. And then Tony, once I was okay, then he allowed himself to grieve. So Tony.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna take just a brief step back. Our son's Tyler John Allen, and his accident was on 5/14 of 15, so it'll be 6 years Thursday. And one thing that was kind of similar to what Jeff was saying earlier is, so from the time of his accidents through, we would go to Flagstaff to kind of get away for weekends, and that's when we discovered Jeff Olson's video, and also help me, Carol, Dr.
Mary Neal
Neal's video, and watched them multiple times. And then later on that year, we just jumped in the truck and drove to Jackson Hole and went to Yellowstone for a few days. Like you said, just to get away from it all, and just took a trip together. And then, no, I'll come back and pick up where Carol was saying it. Yeah, she did everything, read every book. And just, that's when we really started to understand and receiving signs, allowing the signs, I would say, that come in from Tyler.
Excellent. And that's such a powerful point. Carol, you said, I made a choice. I started doing this, I started doing that. And yeah, that's kind of a bottom line, isn't it? You make a choice.
Yes.
Well, beautiful.
So one thing,
go ahead.
Mark, one thing you had said earlier, because sorry, you guys, I got home from work late and I'm still bouncing around. But I picked up earlier on what you were saying about anxiety and panic. And I had to learn, because a couple times my anxiety would get so bad it would turn into a panic attack, and I actually wound up in ER thinking I was convinced I was having a heart attack. My panic attack was that bad. And so we are fortunate Carol and I and our family to have very close supporting family and friends. And one of my friends had gone through some pretty traumatic stuff, so he actually gave me an app with breathing exercises. And so I did that for a while. And then Carol got into yoga. And I wouldn't say I got into it, but I try. And then do some meditation, because one thing me personally have learned is your mind is extremely powerful, and it can take control of you physically, no doubt. So the breathing exercises, and the Carol used to like put her hand on my chest and count with me just to breathe, to kind of talk me back down off the ledge, kind of when I start having anxiety. But that was probably the first year, I would say.
And I would say that once we learned, and I went from being so low to feeling joy and laughing, because once I realized that Tyler, is right here with me, and I communicate with him, I talk to him, I feel my connection is as strong, almost 6 years later. But I let go of all the anger. I let go of, I had no anger. I felt no guilt for letting him ride the motorcycle. I never blamed Tony because he always had a motorcycle. We worked together. And I had to also, one of the things I could say to women is Tony and I definitely did grieve different. I very rarely cry anymore, because I just feel, if I do get sad for a moment, I hear Tyler telling me stop. One of the things I had to learn is to let Tony grieve in his own way and not judge him for it. Because I, in the beginning, was a little bit, I would say, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're not breathing. You're not doing yoga. You're not helping yourself. And he is, but then he did say to me one day, you know what, sweetie, when I sit in the backyard and I listen to Simple Man, which was Tyler's song with the tattoo, and I would get mad at him because I thought he was torturing himself. But he said, I feel connected to him. That's when I feel him. That's when I hear him. So even though I'm crying, and I think we have to understand that we do grieve different. And just because things were working for me that helped me, he did different things that helped him. And he listens. I watch the videos, and then I go, you have to watch this, or I'll share everything with him. And I think it's important to spend that time together and talk. We talk all the time about Tyler. And I always feel like, well he's my
Carol
best friend.
All the time. I listen.
Yeah, probably. As you can see. So
Beautiful.
That's all.
Beautiful, you too. So what else could you share? A couple other things for parents at different stages of grieving. What other insights did you garner?
Tony, do you have anything?
Gosh, it's kind of, I'm gonna be a little repetitive, Doctor, on what you said. Carol and I remained very close. Our grief sometimes was us laying in bed and holding each other. Or we would do a lot of walks and stuff in Flagstaff in the forest. And the forest is kind of my church, if you will. That's where I can feel really grounded into earth. And we would do those things and multiple things and watch the videos. But being supportive of each other for me was really key.
Great. Anything else for you, Carol?
I just think it's just important to keep, once I felt better, I thought it was important for us to start going to dinner together as a couple and continuing. I wanted to start having fun again. And I think that that's important. And one thing I will say is I never did feel guilty. I know you said that some people, if they start to laugh and have fun, they feel guilty. I never felt guilty, because everything I'd learned, I believed it's my truth. And so I thought there's nothing to feel guilty about. So I think it's so important to continue once, to learn, and then to walk away and go have dinner together and do things together as a couple that are fun, go to the movies, whatever it is. We took that trip to Yellowstone, and we had so much fun together. And that was literally, it hadn't even been a year. And we just laughed and we talked about Tyler, but we still moved forward as a couple. And I think it's important. And I think it's important because, some people, their husbands, Tony and I are fortunate in the sense that we both talk about the same things together. And I know some couples aren't like that, but that's okay too. I think it's as long as you spend time as a couple and respect the other person's, the way they grieve, and know that if they're not crying, that doesn't mean that they don't love them, or if they're crying too much, that I think it's important to respect each other, but to continue to be that couple, do things as a couple, and in the beginning, we didn't really want to spend a lot of time with other people, other friends, because we felt like we didn't fit in with them until, we just wanted to be around other parents that had lost kids. But we did get to the point where we will go out. We've maintained great friendships and we don't talk about Tyler to them all day long like we used to, because we don't need to. If we need to talk about Tyler, we talk to each other, or we talk to our Helping Parents Heal families. So, but I think just maintaining that relationship as a couple, going out, doing things together, keeps you connected. I hope that helps.
It helps very much. First of all, thank you for reminding me of one of my favorite songs from decades ago, Simple Man. I can't wait to listen to that. It's been a while. Secondly, describing what happened, the motorcycle wreck, and at some point, you didn't feel guilty about it. You had peace about it. We know from the Life Between Lives work by Michael Newton, PhD and therapist trained by him, that one of the most common trip ups by souls who come to earth is they forget their agenda. They sleepwalk. They wait to come to earth to have these experiences because there's so big opportunities to grow and learn and so on. But then they have that spiritual amnesia that they don't break through. So one of the ways that you can wake up is to have something horrible like a child pass, and it can either destroy you, or it can wake you up. And both you two and the Hollihans are beautiful descriptions of how it rocked your world, but look how you came out of it in the long run. And your child says, mission accomplished.
Yeah. If I could say one more thing, as we were going through this, and I'd had some really tough times, some really tough days. And I would tell myself, if I see Tyler tomorrow, would I want him to go, what the hell, Dad, you fell apart? Or would I want him to go, way to go, Dad? I knew you would handle it. And so that's one thing I tell myself when I get really down.
Oh my, that's strong. I've spent a lot of time with Native American teachers and ceremony, and they have a saying, strong as a bear, and they have a song like that. In fact, we'll sing it the next time we all get together at a conference. And what you two are describing is that, strong as a bear. So thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. You were the second time we came to HPH meeting at Unity. You were the speaker there. The first one was Ernie, and then you. And oh my goodness, Tony walked out of there saying, that was amazing. You really had an impact on us, a huge impact. I want you to know.
Well, thank you. You made my day. That's part of why I'm here. All right. And finally, Janine and Jack. My goodness, what a lineup of couples here. Are you ready?
We are ready. I'm Janine, and this is my husband, Jack, who just walked into the house at the perfect time. So he had no idea
to meet you,
he was
Jack.
gonna do this.
Hello, guys. How are you doing?
And
Yeah.
so this will be interesting.
Yeah.
So we lost our son transitioned in 2016 by suicide, and it followed an 18-month kind of downward spiral be due to some marijuana use. And so it was kind of a time of, we were really unsure what was happening. He had been just an all-star prior to that and just did a 180. And so after it happened, the first thing that I think Jack and I did right was we didn't blame each other, because there were a lot of things that along that 18-month timeline where, we feel like, I feel like I made mistakes, or, and I've gotten past that now, but initially, the woulda, coulda, shouldas. And so I think the very first thing that Jack and I were able to do is not blame each other. And I just feel like there were things that he could have put on me, and I know there were things I would have put on him, and it just wasn't a thing. So I'm grateful that we both were on that same page. The differences that we have, and I haven't prepped him at all for this, is that I have kind of walked away from formal religion, and Jack has not. And what I appreciate about him is that he honors where I'm at, and I think I honor where he's at. And I think that's super important as a couple, to support each other, and what allows you to be able to grow and be okay, since that happened. So we definitely have a different path where that goes. About 5 months into the journey, I went to Phoenix. We're all from Arizona. It's kind of funny. I live in Flagstaff, and I went to Phoenix and went to a medium who gave a conference, and the conference was awesome. It was Suzanne Wilson. But the most important thing that happened to me that day was I met Elizabeth, and I'm pretty sure it was Carol, and I'm pretty sure it was Lynn. And I just remember seeing these women thinking, well, I'll never have what they're had, and I'll never be like they are. There's no way. But I was just so drawn to them, and but I wanted what they had, and they had this mix of compassion for where I was at, but I saw this spark of joy that I just couldn't even wrap my head around. And so I started down the Helping Parents Heal journey. And I think Jack was very supportive, but maybe wasn't as on board with that as I was. I don't know if you want to say anything.
No, I mean, I think she's kind of run with it, and obviously runs groups. And I usually tend to talk to the male group people, because the males tend to kind of do it more solo. And so we usually just meet by ourselves instead of with the group, and kind of go through feelings and things that you feel afterwards, the guilts and the different things that people, the way they grieve. Janine definitely is a little more vocal in the way she grieves. And then just even kind of going through all the stuff about couples, and you hear all this, the kind of the falsities about how couples who lose a child are more at risk of having a divorce. And, when you really look into it, the risk is no greater or no less. And obviously, if your marriage wasn't good to begin with, it's not going to do well with a child, losing a child. And otherwise, as these guys have mentioned, it makes you stronger. And so I think it's, in a strange way, that's been good. Obviously, still sadness, but no, she helps each other. And like I said, the Helping Parents Heal has been huge for Janine. I think it's a good way to kind of go through things. And I swear she's talking to 3 or 4 new people a week. It's amazing with the suicide group. So lots of people out there losing kids through suicide. And so lots of people want to talk.
Then as we grieved differently, for sure. Jack had to go right back to work, or at least went back sooner than I did, and really had to put on a face. He works in the medical field, and in order to maintain his focus on his job and that sort of thing, he had to really put on a face. And for me, I would be irritated with him for saying everything was fine, and I was wearing it all on my sleeve. So that was a little difficult in the beginning. And but with time, we were able to work through that and recognize, like previous, like Lynn and Jeff and Carol and Tony said, that you really just have to honor each other's grief journey and support how they are going through it, because we're not the same person. And that was huge for us, a huge turning point for us. And I just have to say, and he's going to laugh at me, but I was the one who would seek out mediums and have readings. I've recognized signs possibly more than Jack at least told me about, but I'm going to tell on him because our son Brendan laughs because he doesn't go and have the reading, but he listens to my readings. And then when he's with friends or in the operating room, he tells people all about the readings. And Brendan said, and he doesn't shut up, Mom. He's just like, he's so excited about it. But so I think he lives vicariously through what I'm willing to go and seek out. And so
it's kind of like Facebook. I look at her Facebook. Yeah. So yeah.
Nice. Beautiful. What else could you share with people? It's been 5 years for you now that you've gone through a couple insights for other folks.
anything?
You know, I agree. I mean, I think you need to get out. You obviously need to continue to remember your person, but you do need to get out with the family and get out as a couple. And so I think that's important to continue living life. And no, I think that's been the biggest thing. And then I agree with Janine, because, you know, people do grieve differently, and there's that fine line between grief and self-pity, and we will never agree who does what, because you see people that seem like not to move forward at all, but who's to say who's right and who's wrong. And I agree with Janine. You gotta let people go at their own pace. It does give you an appreciation though when other people had lost children, and I was kind of thinking, why aren't they kind of going forward? And you just don't realize it never goes. And so that does give you a whole new appreciation for people that I knew that had lost children before, and I don't think I had any idea what they were going through. So it, in a strange way, it does give you an appreciation for others who have done it before you. So.
And I just wanted to say one more thing that, you know, I had a whole list of things that we did differently and how we grieved differently, but I thought it was important to bring up that there were things that we did together that really helped build us back up, and that we did things together in Sean's honor. And one of them was we would go to Mexico and build homes on our spring break. We didn't get to go this year because of COVID, but every year since since Sean's passing, we have gone and built houses together. And that's been a huge bonding experience for us. And we definitely feel him around when we're doing that. We contribute to his foundation. There's a scholarship in his name, and we, you know, we go through all the interviews that we have him do a video interview for that. And so we do those kinds of things together. And then we are a united front. We have other children that are younger in the home, and that actually made our grief more complicated because we also had to deal with their things. And so I think we've done a good job of being a united front and modeling what is good, what communication looks like between two people that necessarily aren't necessarily grieving at the same pace, but we're still able to communicate with each other.
Wow. Wow. Anything else?
No. Yeah.
And I'd just like to add that Janine has been indispensable on the Soul Phone Foundation team, helps me almost every day. And so that's another way she's turning that pain and sadness into service to others. So well done. And so many takeaways from all of you, but one that Janine just said was she saw the compassion and joy in Elizabeth, Lynn, and Carol and others. And she wanted that. She didn't think it was possible for her, but she wanted that. And that's a beautiful description of how you can have sadness, but you also can see a higher vision. And that's what you bereaved parents, especially those of you who become the shining light parents. You hold a vision, you show other people what's possible, and then it helps people climb that mountain and get to that top themselves. So, wow, let's have a applause for all three couples that have shared so much. Thank you, thank you. Wow. I am blown away by by all the love and caring and power here. And So a few closing remarks, and we will end for the day. So I hope this information gives you some practical steps you can make, especially if you have some relationship challenges. And again, that's the way to frame them: challenges, not problems. And I hope this whole discussion helps you better remember the great news, helps you wake up to reality, how life is, because you realize your senses and much of what the world tells you leads you astray. So this good news I'm referring to, no one really dies. You will see your child and other loved ones again. As so many near-death experiences come back and say, we each are one with one and part of source right now. You're not distant from God. You're not separate from God. You're an integral and infinite, eternal, beloved part of that phenomenon. You're here for special reasons and purposes. As Richard Bach said, there's a simple test to see if your missions on earth are ended. If you're still living here, they aren't. So, look around, see what they are. How do you feel called to help? And do that. And that helps your life make so much more sense. So put that to use. You have my email address, mark@soulproof.com. You know about all those resources. So I look forward to hearing from you about how you saw the light, because that's really what we're describing here. Awakening, becoming enlightened, seeing the light, seeing the good news that sets us free. And I look forward to hearing your story about how you're having more joy, peace, happier relationship, all that. So God bless you all. Let it shine. Elizabeth, Irene, any final words there?
Yes, first of all, I just want to thank all of you for all of the couples. You guys were wonderful. Thank you, Dawn, for bringing this to our attention. Thank you, Mark, for doing this meeting. This has been wonderful. We always say thank you and good night. And so I think that everyone's unmuted. So if you would like to do so, please do so. This has gone a little bit longer than normal, but this was definitely worth it. Thank you so much to all of you. And group hug, yes.
Thank you so much, Mark.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Elizabeth.
What a
Thanks,
great meeting.
everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
And
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Irene's chat, remember, and then we also have a
Thank
meeting
you.
with Jeffrey Olson and his son tomorrow. So please join us tomorrow. And thank you all for being here.
Good night.
Have a wonderful evening. Take care.
Thank you.
everyone.
Love
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.